little overview of how you can submit your UC Transfer Admission Guarantee or TAG application. So we're here on the TAG kind of landing website for the UCs, and it's got a couple links which are helpful. So first is the UC TAG matrix, which just goes over which programs participate and some of the specific eligibility requirements, kind of big picture. If you want to know what the TAG requirements are, you can click this. It's updated each year. And then when you're ready to actually get started on your TAG application, you can use this link right here. So for TAG, the UCs have that application through their Transfer Admission Planner or their TAP. So you're using the TAP portal to submit your TAG. But one of the cool things about the TAP is that you can go ahead and make that account in your very first semester. So you can get a jump start on entering in your coursework and everything. But as long as you get it done by the deadline, which is September 30th for fall transfer, then you're A-okay as well. So go ahead and click Transfer Admission Planner. Then it's going to take you to this website where you will either sign in if you've already made an account, or you will click New to the UC tab, Create an Account Now. Just make sure that you're using an email address that you check regularly so that if you get any updates from the TAG application process, that you're actually getting those updates and not missing out on them. So you'll go ahead and make your account and go ahead and press sign in. Once you're able to log into your Transfer Admission Planner, on the right-hand side, you're going to see the various parts of the UC TAP that you'll need to fill out. And then down here at the bottom under My Transfer Plan, that is where you actually complete the TAG information. So the purpose of the UC Transfer Admission Planner is to have students kind of fill out this information as they go. So the About Me section is completed as soon as you want. You could do this right away when you start college. And then the academic history is completed kind of as you're taking your college classes. And of course, if you're doing it this, at the tail end of your education, that's fine too. You'll have a lot more to add in, but students can make this account early. So if you happen to be watching this video and you're in your first semester, you can totally get started on making a UC TAP account. And then the year before you transfer, that's when you're doing your TAG application. You can actually complete the Apply for TAG component of this. So the first part is personal information. So this is just going to be, name and contact information such as phone number, address, etc. I'd say that the most important thing for you to answer, is first of all, answer everything correctly. But then down at the bottom, please do put your campus student ID number for SCC. Because this helps us on the back end if you need to have your TAG reviewed by an SCC counselor, then we're able to more quickly access your information and pull up your transcripts and whatnot. So definitely put in your SCC student ID number down at the bottom here. This demographic information page, I will note that everything in here is optional. So you can actually go down all the way to the bottom and save this without having added any information. So it is completely optional. I know that, sometimes when they ask these questions, there'll be a decline to state, but because the question is not mandatory, they don't give that option, which can be a little bit confusing for students who might not feel comfortable or might not have the information to answer. I'd say the most common is like if you are not in contact with a parent or don't have either two parents or one parent or whatever it may be, you don't need to put, again, this is not mandatory, so you can just answer it for how it is and what you know. So it's not establishing your eligibility for TAG or anything. This is just demographic information that they're collecting. Okay, support programs. This is asking you if you're interested in programs first at the UCs. So at every individual UC, there's these different transfer preparation programs, and you can either indicate that you're interested in or a participant. Now, there's a little bit of variance. Like some of these, it just depends on if your community college offers them. Some of them are for very specific schools or for very specific students. So that does vary kind of a lot, but you can just read about the different programs by clicking the link here. And again, these are optional questions, so you could leave these blank if you wanted to. The ones that can definitely look at are down here under the additional support programs. So these are programs really at the community college level. So what we'd offer here at Santiago Canyon College, but we don't have every single one of these programs. So here at SCC, we certainly have our CalWorks program, the CCPG California College Promise Grant, and formerly the Bog Waiver. This is different than the Promise Scholarship. This is grant money through financial aid. It used to be called the Board of Governors Fee Waiver, and now it's called the CCPG, or the California College Promise Grant. So you can always look at your financial aid award letter and see if you're getting this or not. And then if you are, you can say that you're currently a participant. We have definitely EOPS here, MESA, Emoja, and then Upward Bound. So, and then other support programs, you can say that you are a participant. Like, for example, if you're part of our STEM Academy, honors, etc., you can list those if you want to. It's really optional. And again, this is just kind of data. And for some of these, when you mark that you're interested, they might give you, send you some information on the different programs. Account settings is just, to update your login information. For example, if you use an email that you're not able to access, or you need to just reset it because you're wanting to make sure you're getting those emails to an email that you're checking, make sure you update that in your account settings. Then My Academic History is kind of the meat of this application. So you will add your schools attended. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate that. So we'll practice with Canyon High School. So we've got just obviously look by city and the name. So Canyon comes up. Obviously there are a couple Canyon high schools. So make sure that we're clicking on the correct one here. So we'll go with that one. And then this is the date of when you started. So like your freshman year of high school, and the year, and then the end. And if you attended multiple schools, you can actually put those in here, right? It's going to let you add. It's not asking for what school you graduated from. It's asking for all of the high schools that you attended. So if you started at one school and then switched to another, you can have that reflected in here. And then if it's your current or most recent school, yes or no, and then the type of school that it is. And then of course, this question is asking if you will actually receive your high school diploma from that particular school. So if you say yes, then it's going to ask you if it was a diploma, certificate, GED, etc., and then your date that you graduated. So for most students, that's going to be June of whatever year that they graduated. And then adding colleges and universities. So when you go into add SCC, you're going to say, yes, it's a California community college. And then it's got a drop down here. So you'll have to do some scrolling down and find Santiago Canyon College. Let's find it here. And then you will put your start date. So this would be if you started in summer, you would, to June or July. If you started in the fall semester, which would be probably most students, you'll go ahead and put in August. Now, if you took dual enrollment, it's really important that you put your actual start date of when you started taking dual enrollment classes for SCC. They'll see that, you were in high school because they'll see the graduation date. But it's just really important that you put in your actual start date of when you took your first class, as opposed to, when you graduated high school and started taking classes. So we'll say August of 2024, and then end date is going to be June of 2027, and it is your current most sure. Obviously, this this depends. So if you're taking classes kind of split between two schools, then you just do the one that is your primary campus. That might be where you're taking the most amount of your credits. That might be where you're getting your financial aid from, etc. So you can just do your best to answer this question. And then we are a semester system, so a semester term at SCC and also Santa Ana College. And then, did you or will you earn a degree from the school? So it's just a yes or no question. If you're not sure about this, definitely connect with your counselor. And if the answer is yes, you'll put the type of degree. The thing that most students get confused on is if they're getting an associate's or an associate degree for transfer. So those are both associate degrees, but the associate for transfer is just a specific type of degree offered for certain majors. So again, connect with a counselor if you're not sure, because you'll definitely need to know this both for your tag, for your UC app, for your Cal State apps, and also for your graduation petition. So just get this answer sooner than later. That way you are aware for all the different times that we're going to be asking you about this. So we'll say associate for transfer, and we're going to say, okay, I'll be getting that in June of 2027, and we'll go ahead and save that. And then just ask the question following your high school graduation, has there been any time when you were not enrolled in a college or university for more or one terms? If you say yes, it's just going to have you explain kind of what you were up to, like if you were working or etc. And you just answer that question as it is. And then at the time of transfer, will you be a US citizen or permanent resident? So if you say yes, it's not going to prompt any questions. If you say no, it'll give you some more. So do you hold a visa? Non-immigrant visa, yes or no? That's again just up to you. So if you say no, it doesn't prompt you. If you say yes, it also doesn't prompt you. So, all right. So now that the schools have been added, high school, college, and university, one other piece for college and university, make sure that you add all schools that you've attended. So even if you took just one class over at our sister school of Santa Ana College, it's really important to add them separately as a school. Again, if you took a class at another college, IBC or OCC, etc., even if it was back in high school, it's just super important that you add them as a school, because when you go into this coursework section that comes next, you will need to add in the classes kind of connected or underneath the umbrella of that particular school that you took the class at. So that is something that applies to your UC tag application, to your UC app, to your Cal State app. So it's just really important to be kind of aware of where you've taken classes. One question I get is, oh, I went to another school, but I sent my transcripts to SCC. That's all well and good. We can now, have those on file. That helps counselors. That helps you for graduation purposes. But in terms of these applications, you do need to still separately add the information for the college and the classes that you took at that college. And then when you are applying to those schools, they're going to separately ask for transcripts. So that's just an important piece of the puzzle for completing this correctly. All right, so once you finish entering all the schools that you've gone to, you'll go onto the coursework section. It's super important to add everything that you've ever done. So dual enrollment courses taken at other colleges, even if it was a long time ago. Even if you dropped the class with a W or an EW, got a pass, a no pass, everything that you've taken, even non-transferable coursework, needs to be added in. So basically you're matching your transcripts exactly as they are into this coursework section. And then it's also important to put any classes that you're currently taking or classes that you have planned for future terms. So just you're putting everything in here. So to get started, you're going to click add a course, and you'll select the term. So all of these are the same as SCC terms except winter. So here at SCC, we call winter spring intersession. So if you took a spring intersession class, you'll just select winter. So for the purpose of this example, we'll choose fall of 2024. This is a drop down, so if you entered multiple colleges on the last screen, then you'll go here to select where you took it from. And then you can type in any portion of the course, subject, title, etc. So we'll type in just English, for example. ENGL is the course code. And so now what pops up is like all of these different courses. And so you can find your class. So if you find your class on here, you can go ahead and select it. Then you'll update the status. So if the class was already taken, you'll put, if the class was already completed, you're going to select the grade from right here. And then if the class is currently in progress or planned, you'll mark off one of these boxes up at the top. So for example, if you got a B in this class, you select B and click add. Now you'll see kind of a semester basically popping up. If this gap in education button comes up, then just kind of keep adding your coursework until that either goes away, and then if there remains a gap because you are not taking classes, then you can fill this out. But if you haven't finished adding in your coursework, you can kind of just ignore this one for now. So we have fall of 2024, and then we'll go ahead and add in more coursework. So we'll say spring of 2025. Again, choose the school, and then you can add in all of your coursework. So we'll use math as an example, and then you would just scroll down from the list. Now, if you happen to not see your course, that's something to check in on. So for example, if it was a non-transferable course, that is not going to pop up because these are ASSIST certified courses, meaning those are the classes on ASSIST that come up as transferable. So if it was non-transferable, you would just scroll down to the bottom and click Add It Now. Another reason why you might not see coursework come up here is if the school that you took the class from was a university, if it was out of state or private, then those classes are going to be manually entered by clicking Add It Now. And then also, if you are looking for a class, so say for example, you're looking for Econ 120. Well, keep in mind here at SCC, our econ classes are Econ 101 and 102, but if you took 120, 121, for example, those are actually Santa Ana College classes. So sometimes if your class, if you know it was transferable, but you're just not seeing it come up on the list, go back onto your transcript and pay close attention to the column of your transcript that says campus and see, did I take that at SCC or did I take that maybe at Santa Ana College? It happens all the times where students are taking an online class through our sister school and they just didn't even realize it was a SAT class, or they've just forgotten. So it happens all the time. But if your class is not coming up, that's another thing to just kind of look out for. Econ is just one example of many. But so we'll use that and we'll say that it's, completed. If you withdrew from the class and got a W, you can check this W. Otherwise, an EW, a letter grade. Again, you're just putting exactly what is on your transcript. So if you got an academic renewal, you'll put that. But for the most part, it's going to be a letter grade, maybe a W. So we'll choose a W as just an example. We'll go ahead and add that. And again, you can start to see the semesters. So of course, if you're taking multiple classes, you'll add them into the term. So add course to a term if you want to put more classes into fall 2024. Same goes for spring, and then you'll just continue to add your courses into here. As you start to enter in your classes, it's kind of keeping a running tally of your coursework summary. So ASSIST certified classes are, again, classes that came up as being kind of predetermined as transferable. Those are going to be classes taken at a California community college. If you've done coursework through a university, it's going to come up as non-certified. So those classes are just going to come up as a different column. And then courses satisfying the UC 7-course pattern. The 7-course pattern is the minimum general education required for all students applying to the UCs. So as you enter in your classes, again, if they're ASSIST certified, they're going to populate and show how they might meet the 7-course pattern, which is just a helpful way to kind of check in and see that you are eligible. And of course, you can always talk to a counselor to double check your eligibility, which is super important. Under the exam section of the application, you can click add an exam, especially if you have something like APs. Let's try it with just statistics. There we go. And you'll go ahead and just click the exam, and then you'll put in the exam date. So it's just asking for month and year. So a lot of times exams are taken in either May or June. So we'll say June of 2024, and then you'll put your exam score. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and you'll put in all of your scores. So if you did APs and you got, 3s and 4s on some of them, but you got one that you got a score of 2 or 1, you'll still put everything, just list it, again, following kind of that AP transcript, essentially, from the College Board. You'll put in all of those scores. And when you've done, you can go ahead and press add. My transfer plan is the next section, so when and where you want to go. So this is the term that you plan on transferring for. So we're gonna go ahead and click fall 2027, and then, or whatever term you are transferring for. That's just our example here. And then this is just for general application. So this question right here is, what UC campuses are you interested in transferring to? And then it links to their admission site so you can grab more information. So this is not specifically asking about tag, because not all of these schools have tag. They're just saying in general, which schools are you planning on or hoping to transfer to. And then if you're planning on doing tag, you can go ahead and select this. If you're doing a UC transfer pathway, you can actually just click this and you'll see the different majors that participate in the transfer pathways. And if it applies to you, you can select this as well. Next is the apply for the transfer admission guarantee. So this links to the tag matrix, which goes over the eligibility. So we always recommend paying super close attention to the eligibility. Make sure that you check off every bit of the requirements and making sure that you meet also the campus specific requirements for your major. Do you have the classes you need, the GPA in the major prep, etc. So be very good about reading the details. And of course, you can work with the counselor to get clarification on your eligibility, but this information is also available online for you to reference. When you're ready to select your tag school, you'll do your community college as Santiago Canyon College, and then your transfer term, you'll select which year you plan to transfer, and then your tag campus. So we'll use Irvine as an example. Then it'll link to the campus tag details and requirements. You absolutely should be clicking this and reading through all the checklist requirements and specific requirements with regard to the majors. You'll choose your major from the drop down here. And then you also will read over the UCI tag checklist for that specific year. So this one's for fall 2027. And you have to kind of agree to each of these. So make sure that you know that you have them, because this is what your tag is based on. So ensuring that you have 30 units by the end of summer 2026, transferable units, the 3.4 GPA by the end of fall 2026, and then maintain the 3.4 by the end of spring 2027. So again, you're going to want to read through all of these. And it links, for example, when it comes to your major requirements, it links to a separate page where you will go through and make sure that you have the requirements that you need. So for example, you're interested in transferring to UCI as a, let's do something fun. Let's do chemistry. As a chemistry major, so for tag, 3.4 cumulative GPA, and then you also have to have a 3.0 GPA specifically in these courses. So a year of general chemistry with the lab with a grade of B or better in each course. So that would be our Gen Chem A and Gen Chem B. So they're saying a B or higher in each of those. And then a year of single variable calculus. So they're not saying a specific grade for this, but you do have to have a 3.0 in this grouping of coursework. So it's super important to read the fine details when it comes to your major, because, yes, there's this big picture 3.4, but sometimes the majors will also have specific GPA requirements, like a cumulative major requirement or even a specific grade that you have to get in a class. So just pay a lot of attention to the details when it comes to tag. And then when you get down to here, you can go ahead and save your campus choice. And once the tag period is open, so September 1st to the 30th, you can go through and actually submit your tag. And then submit your tag application, And then it also links to the UC transfer application, because as part of the tag application, you need to do your regular UC application, which can be submitted October 1st to November 30th. So you'll make a separate account. What's cool is that you can link, when you're eventually in your UC app, you'll be able to sign in and then there's a separate sign in where you use your tag information to link the coursework section. So you won't have to do this whole academic history section over again. It'll pull the information from your TAP account into your UC application. Now, the one downside of that is if you make an error in your UC TAP, then it's going to get pulled into your UC application. So just before you turn in your UC application, make sure that you're going through and double, triple checking that everything was entered correctly. If a counselor gave you, some feedback saying that something was, an error was made, just make sure you're fixing that in your UC application. Another really common question I get is, students will turn in their tag, and now it's after September 30th. You can't make edits into the tag, but something has changed with their schedule, like maybe a class has changed for the spring semester. The way to update that will just be to correctly report the classes in your UC application. So don't stress, you just need to fix it for sure in your UC application. Something that cannot be edited and cannot be updated later is the school that you choose to do your tag to. So after September 30th, you can't go back. If you find out you're ineligible, you can't go back and tag to a different school. So it's super important that by the deadline, you select the correct tag campus and the correct major, since that also cannot be changed. Under the record review, this is where you can just get kind of a snapshot of what you've entered into here, which is a good way to kind of double check your work. And then this messages feature is you can get messages either from a counselor from SCC within the transfer center or from the UC representative. So if you get a message here, you can review them, and it's super important to keep a close eye on that, especially for the community college counselors, as we sometimes are able to go in and take a peek, and if we see some edits, we can suggest them. But don't rely on us doing that. We do it as we have time, and if you want us to take a look, come and drop into the transfer center or request a tag review using our UC transfer, or using our Transfer Success Hub Canvas site, which I will link into the comments section. So you can actually submit a request for us to go ahead and take a look at your tag that you've submitted or that you're working on. Okay, if you have any questions, please contact the Transfer Center at SCC. We're located in D104, and we have our business hours on our website, which is sccollege.edu/transfer, which I will also link in the comments box.